This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Hi, welcome to Women's Wealth Wednesday, providing you tips and information for any stage of your life. And I'm so excited to be joined by Caleb Doane, who is the Vice President at Foster Financial. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm really excited about what you're going to share today because we are talking about such a sensitive yet important journey of someone's life that they may encounter. So if a woman finds herself that she is widowed, she has lost her spouse, I know that there is so many steps that she has to take in order to make sure that she is good with all of the logistics and the paperwork and making sure legally and financially everything's okay. So you're going to provide some information for us today and get that kicked off. So please share with me, what will you share today?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, this is a huge sort of financial pivotal moment for a woman in her life. Probably the biggest change since her and her spouse retired. And so this just has sweeping changes. It's possible that, she's had a joint account with her husband for 50 years. And so going from two people to one person and doing income planning for that is just a massive change in somebody's sort of financial future.
Right.
And so I really wanted to start sort of a three, segment series here where we talk about the main three things that a recent widow would need to do to ensure that she's set up for success financially.
Okay.
And I think those three buckets could probably fit into the main documents that she would need to gather, the main people that she would need to contact, and then lastly, the main actions that she would need to take moving forward. So today I kind of wanted to focus on that first big bucket of all the documents that someone would need to pull together.
Yes, that probably is the most overwhelming step and the most important to gather and to find and to be at that mental stage to know where everything is at. So with this list that you're going to give us or share with us what they need, this is the first step to be ready. So what type of documents would they need?
Yeah, absolutely. There's really probably four that come to mind. I would say that the first one is any big legal documents that somebody has. And I think most people's mind immediately goes to maybe a will that they have. I think that's really the big one. And most people can kind of point to the cupboard that has the will that they drew up, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. We often recommend getting it updated probably a little more frequently just because there are legislation changes that can impact stuff. But there's other legal documents that people might not think of immediately. I'd say one is if people have a family trust that was set up at any point, it's really important to make sure you know where that's at.
Okay.
And then one that oftentimes slips people's mind is power of attorney documents. So the power of attorney documents, if people aren't familiar, basically allows somebody else to act on their behalf for financial decisions. And so most of the time, people have their spouses are each other's power of attorney, and a lot of times there are successor power of attorneys in there too. So, maybe a recent widow, her husband has been her power of attorney for a long time, meaning he was able to make financial decisions, if she became incapacitated for whatever reason. Now that might switch where it's, her child or maybe two of her children need to work together to, make any sort of these decisions. And so it's important to read the language in that power of attorney document and understand how it's set up.
Yes. Okay, so we have those, and then what's the next one?
Yeah, so legal documents are kind of the first one. Another one that comes to mind is financial statements. So you'd probably be surprised, like a lot of times, even when couples come in for maybe an initial consultation, they have sort of this stack of documents that has their different statements in it. And a lot of times, even they in that stage are somewhat confused on how many accounts that they have. They think, hey, I have a couple 401ks. I think, it's just these three, but we might need to call to double check on this. And so a lot of times there might be sort of a lack of organization there. And that's sort of amplified if it's a widow trying to take care of a lot of this stuff because maybe her husband had multiple accounts that he wasn't even aware of.
Right.
And so it's really important that at that stage to kind of take a look, gather a lot of those financial documents, and understand where each of those sort of reside.
So you speak about, I want to touch on the organization side of it, because to your point, if there are multiple accounts, how would one know? So it's as if a plan needs to be set into place between a couple to say, we're going to have a designated location in our home that's going to have these documents. You may not need to know this information right now, but one day you should. So do you recommend having like this secret file box or folder of just like, this is where we're putting all the information? These are my accounts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And typically, the way that these accounts are set up, oftentimes they'll send maybe quarterly statements or annual statements. Recently, they've really been trying to get people to sign up for the email statements, so that can get a little scary. You got to make sure that you check through emails to make sure there aren't additional accounts there that maybe somebody isn't aware of. But making a plan ahead of time is a huge benefit. I know I have this lady who's a client of mine, and she's a wonderful lady, and she will bring in she calls it her big, ugly pink binder, because it just has all of the statements in it that she collects over the years, and she knows if she needs anything, it'll be in that document. She can bring me this big binder, I can kind of sort through it and figure out exactly what we need. So certainly important to have a plan, have those financial documents. The other one that comes to mind is bills that people have. So this is another really important kind of set of documents to make sure somebody's gathering. And I guess how difficult this would be kind of depends on maybe how involved the wife was before her husband passed away in paying some of these bills. Sometimes the wife is the one who has the checkbook out and is writing these on a monthly basis, and so that makes the transition a little easier. But other times there might be bills that are set up on auto pay. Maybe the husband was a member of some organization that has, auto pay dues or whatever it might be. And so it's important to kind of take a look at those things and make sure that you're set up to pay those if you need to, or cancel them if you don't.
Yes. Cancel them if you don't. That's the big thing. It's like you don't want these bills to constantly come out after someone has been deceased. And I just want to make a transition real quick, or connectivity between a widower, but also single folks. You know, more and more people are single. They do not have spouses. And this type of information is so important. If something was to happen to them, to have their information all gathered in a folder and put somewhere for their beneficiary, and assigning beneficiaries. That's a whole, we have to get on that a whole other day, because that is important. I think that if something happens to someone, families aren't prepared for what to do next with their finances.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point there too. And I know we just kind of, I guess, got out of the holiday season a little bit, but if you know that you're a beneficiary for your parents' accounts too, and maybe you don't know where a lot of their statements are at, it can be a good time, maybe next time you're visiting them at home, just to say, hey, at least, point me towards the cabinet that we need to make sure we're aware of. So that's certainly a thing to take, I guess, account of too. And then really the last document that I wanted to mention that a lot of people forget about is getting extra copies of the death certificate. So this is a thing that people maybe get 1 or 2 copies, but surprisingly, there are a lot of insurance companies, a lot of investment custodians, a lot of stakeholders that will require the original copy of the death certificate. And so a lot of people just say, hey, get 10 copies, get 10 original copies right away. That way you don't have to call them back and pay additional fees, but just get those right up front so that you're taken care of.
Okay, that's wonderful. So having that will and that trust, having the death certificate rather, and having the bills and the financial statements.
Exactly, you got it.
And that's the toolkit just to start off. Okay, well that was great. I'm excited about the next Women's Wealth Wednesday to find out the next steps and just staying equipped, for anything that could possibly happen in life. So thank you, Caleb, so much. And to get more information about financial services and the holistic financial planning and retirement planning that Foster Financial has to offer, you can contact them for a complimentary consultation. And we'll have that information listed below, and we'll be right back. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.
Living Local 15, proudly driven by the Kelly Automotive Group.